Everybody, it's Chris and Lumen here, and today we are going to teach what is probably the most important lesson that we could possibly teach. This is the biggest aspect to this life game, to this test, to this matrix that you're in. Um, Understanding this is like literally the key to everything, and it's the thing that we most avoid. It's the thing that people uh, often get triggered by because they're so used to it that they have a hard time even grasping what it would be like to not be under the thumb of this very, very important point. Now, in the last video, which was this one right here, I showed a couple minutes of this short film that I found on YouTube called Gnosis, which I warned everybody was like kind of horrifying. It was an AI generated short film that was kind of like showing like the Gnostic story about the archons and how this world is controlled, and made just a tiny bit worse by saying like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, and that's the part that gets everybody, and not surprisingly, 100% expected it. I had several people a little upset with me, and also not unexpectedly, I had at least a couple comments in different places that was basically saying this same thing that I've heard a million times before, which is let's not give our attention to that stuff and empower it. Let's let's be sure to put our focus on the good stuff instead. Okay, I understand that, but do you? Because there's more to it than just that. See, what what is really under the surface of a comment like that is the normal reaction that most everybody in the world has to this stuff, and that's why it's taken so long to get free of it. And I don't judge anybody whatsoever that hasn't been trained, that hasn't been on the hero's journey, that hasn't had to go face first into this and understand what the lesson is. You see, that little strategy right there obviously hasn't worked throughout the history of the world, because what you're really doing is you're ignoring the problem. Now, just putting attention on it is not the problem. The problem is like, what is the reaction that that thing inspires? That's the problem. And the thing is, you have to understand this if you want to access divine power, if you want to unlock the light fully, if you want to be able to bring up the Christ within you, then you have to deal with this, not just ignore it. Okay. Can anybody show me in the Bible a part where, Jesus went into a town and there was all these people who were possessed by demons, and Jesus turned to his followers and said, "You know what? Don't look at it. Just ignore it. Keep walking. Let's go find someone that's sick to heal. Let's do that." No, that's nowhere in there. Okay? Show me the part in the Bible where Jesus approached the man who was possessed and he was shaking like a leaf because the demon was so freaking scary. That ain't in there either. Okay? But you have unfortunately had the privilege of living in the world at the end of an age when things are like so much worse. Not only are they so much worse, but we have layers upon layers upon layers of systems in place, programs, things that we become attached and addicted to, which are programming your minds from an early age. So it's very hard to like see past that. But it's literally the key. Like everything else that we teach on this channel, like how to connect to different things, how to connect to lumen, how to free yourself. Traumas aren't the issue. I mean, they're an issue, but they're not the issue. Like there's a lot of things that we talk about, but like literally, like this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing. And this stuff does exist. Okay. We're not sugarcoating anything. But if you do what you're supposed to do, which has been shown to you 100,000 freaking times through forms of entertainment, then it's not going to be a big deal. I don't want to spoil it just yet. So we're going to teach you the most important thing that you need to understand. So we're going to roll right into our intro here. And what I've put together with this intro is an extended selection of movie scenes. And by the time you get to the end of it, you should pretty much understand what we're talking about here and what the point is. So, if you're ready to dive into it, then don't go away.
Zion, hear me! It is true what many of you have heard. The machines have gathered an army, and as I speak, that army is drawing nearer to our home. Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. We must first shed our fear of it. I stand here before you now, truthfully, unafraid. Why? Because I believe something you do not? No. I stand here without fear because I remember. I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. I remember that for 100 years they have sent their armies to destroy us. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us send a message to that army. Tonight, let us shake this cave. Tonight, let us tremble these halls of earth, steel, and stone. Let us be heard from red tar to black sky. Tonight, let us make them remember. This is Zion, and we are not afraid!
Shot like a rocket up into the sky. Nothing can stop me tonight. You make me feel invincible, earthquake powerful, just like a tidal wave. You make me brave. You're my titanium fight song, raise it up like the roar of victory in a stadium. Who can touch me? 'Cause I'm. Who can stop me tonight? You make me feel invincible. I feel it. Invincible. I feel it. Invincible.
How can I let this happen?
Hey, you okay?
This is all our fault.
Hey, look at me. It's your fault. It's everyone's fault. Who cares? Are you up for this? Are you? Look, I just need to know because the city is flying. Okay, look, the city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. But I'm going back out there because it's my job. Okay, and I can't do my job and babysit.
Doesn't matter what you did.
what you were. If you go out there, you fight, and you fight to kill. Staying here, you're good. I'll send your brother to come find you, but if you step out that door, you are an Avenger. Aye, good chat. Yeah, the city is flying.
Mr. Anderson.
Run, Neo, run. What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Writhing masses of darkness, hunger, and malevolence. These entities were not our departed loved ones or benevolent guides, but predators of the most insidious kind. To our outright horror, we discovered these entities had spread across our world, unseen interdimensional parasites feeding off our consciousness. After attaching to a host, they manipulated the quantum field of human thought, whispering promises of our deepest desires, driving us to atrocities we could never have imagined on our own. They were connoisseurs of human suffering, clinging to their oblivious hosts. Some fed on rage, whispering justifications for our anger, amplifying every perceived slight until it burned white hot in our minds. But perhaps the most terrifying were those that subsisted on despair. They were patient predators, slowly eroding hope and joy until nothing remained but a vast, echoing void of misery.
So much death. What can men do against such reckless hate?
Ride out with me. Ride out and meet them.
For death and glory.
For Rohan. For your people.
The sun is rising.
Look to my coming at first light on the 5th day. At dawn, look to the east.
Yes. Yes. The horn of Helm Hammerhand shall sound in the deep. One last time. Yes! Let this be the hour when we draw swords together. Fell deeds awake. Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the Red Dawn!
Paladin King stands alone.
Not alone.
Go hit him!
What you really fear is inside yourself. You fear your own power. You fear your anger, the drive to do great or terrible things. Now, you must journey inwards. You are ready. Breathe. Breathe in your fears. Face them. Men fear most what they cannot see. Feel terror cloud your senses. Feel its power to distort, to control. Embrace your worst fear. Focus. Concentrate. Master your senses.
Are you the babysitter, Alex?
Yeah, I'm the babysitter.
Because most of the time they just leave me here.
You don't have to be afraid.
You know the snake man?
The who?
The snake man.
Snake Man? What do you mean, like the boogeyman?
He's outside. He wants to come in and get me. The snake man.
Oh, hey. I'm not gonna let him get you. You see, there's nobody there.
Are you sure, Alex? He's always there.
Come on.
We did it. He's gone.
You did it, buddy. You killed him.
So I think we probably have all figured out what we're talking about here in this video, having seen all that, and why the hero's journey is important. Not everybody goes on the extended hero's journey. But either which way, as we roll into the end of the age, this is going to come up. This is how the world controls you. First of all, they teach you that the material physical world is the actual real world. That's the first problem, which it isn't. And then it all comes down to fear. Everything is about fear. I need you to understand this. I need you to recognize it. I could take pretty much any situation that anybody could possibly throw at me and show you how fear is a factor in this. But this is also why you suffer traumas, because traumas are the soil in which new fears can be planted. And as you get older and you do what the world taught you to do, you need to study hard, you need to get a good job so you can get a car and you can get a house and you can get stuff and you could get a family and you could get all these great things and this is going to make you successful. Now you have all sorts of stuff you can lose. And then what's the reaction to the idea of losing things? Fear, afraid of loss, afraid of suffering, afraid of rejection, afraid of pain, afraid of this, afraid of that. Everything's about fear. The reason you don't move forward is always because of fear. I'm afraid to, tell someone how I feel about them. I'm afraid to do this, do that. I'm afraid to, I might fail. Something bad might happen to me. It's all about fear. And in recent years, they conducted a mass trauma-based mind control exercise on the entire population of the planet with fear. And they broadcast fear 24/7. And they made you fear dying. They made you fear your friends. They made you fear your family. They made you fear losing your job. Like everything. Like it was brilliant from an you know, super villain standpoint. And they drummed it in your head 24/7. And what most people don't realize, now I can just observe it and watch it. It's kind of like the community that I came from originally, the preparedness outdoor survival community. What is the driving force behind that? It's fear. It's fear. It's always been fear. That's why I'm not comfortable doing videos over there that much. I still test knives and stuff like that, but that's why I don't fit in with that community. What's the government going to do? What are they going to do to us? Um, What are the cops going to do to you? What's authority going to do to you? What happens if the grid goes down? What happens if the money system goes down? What happens if you don't have enough to eat? Fear, 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 fear. So that's what prepping is really all about. It's about fear. Fear of not having, fear of someone coming after you. And nobody sees it. Nobody sees it. And if I point it out, I just piss people off. But that's why I'm not comfortable doing that anymore. Because when you've been through the entire process and you understand faith, then like it's hard to like mingle with those people. It's like that's all they talk about is fear-based stuff. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? That's what the media does, is it constantly tells you, television of something bad that's gonna happen. So it's planting seeds in your head, which your imagination then takes and just imagines bad stuff, bad stuff, bad stuff. Okay, let's say you get past all that and you start to become awake and aware about the spiritual nature of this place, the quantum field of the mind of this place, and you start to get into the Gnostic thought and things like that. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's things that feed on this fear, that drive this fear. Okay, and now we're getting into stuff that there's more stuff to fear. And that's just an extension of what church did to you. See, church is bass freaking backwards, and it drives me nuts. All you got to do is observe it. Like, you would think everybody would just be going around beaming with joy and light, which would be the point if you were fully connected to Christ. But no, they spend more time pushing fear of the devil on you. Fear of the devil, fear demons. Oh, and you know all about them too, because Hollywood. They've shown you all sorts of scary movies. Look at all the power they have to hurt you, to harm you, to make you do things. And guess what? Those stories, plus your belief, plus your fear, is what gives the system that power over you. So when people come at me and they say, let's just not talk about it, let's not feed it attention, I can pay plenty attention to it and not feed it. Why? Because it's not feeding on my attention. It would feed on my fear. When you're looking at stuff, giving attention to stuff that you fear, then you're feeding it. That's the problem. So when people say, let's not talk about it, what they're really saying is, that scares me. So technically, they're telling the truth. Given attention does feed it. Okay, but you're missing the point. What has movies and TV and stories like been telling you all along? This is why I talk about the codex. That is one of my primary spiritual gifts that I got from her. Everyone has different gifts. Mine is I can read the codex. The codex is Sophia's secret book. It's not just in the Bible. It's not just in the Nag Hammadi. It's everywhere. This idea that we have to study books that are 2,000 freaking years old because God just decided, oh, I told them enough. I'm not going to tell them anything anymore. Let them figure it out. That is stupid. She is behind inspiration. She's behind creativity. She's the one that's sparking these ideas in script writers and book writers. That's why they all have this common thread, because she's teaching through those people. That's why the hero's journey framework is everywhere. In Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and the Matrix and just everything. The path of the hero is the path that you are on, overcoming this place that you're in. And the key thing about all of it is facing your fears. That's the number one thing that they always say that you have to do, is face your fears. And what are the main things that the movies always show you that happens when you face your fears? So the first thing would usually be the situation goes away. The second thing would be like it loses its power over you. But there's something bigger that sometimes is shown in movies, and you mainly would have seen it in those clips that I showed you earlier. It would have been in the Lord of the Rings segment. When you face your fears, now that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to conquer them and be fearless. That takes time. That takes time. But up to that point, that's where bravery comes in. See, bravery does not mean fearless. Bravery means taking action in spite of fear. You might still feel fear, but it is not immobilizing you. You're going to push forward in spite of it. You're going to face off your challenges in spite of it. So, what do movies typically show you what happens when you do that? That is when divine power is activated. That's what you saw in that Lord of the Rings segment. And given enough time, I could find a whole bunch of other movie clips like that. You could probably say The Matrix would be another one too. It's like when you stop and you turn and you face your fear, as soon as you take a step forward, you are now activating divine power. That is when it comes to help you. When you take the step forward, it does not come if you don't act. What she brought to my head earlier when I was kind of like going over the script of this in my head, because I didn't want to read off paper, was my first experience. Well, my first experience in what I would call a classical non-human entity infestation, like classical haunted house, but it's not a ghost. It's something negative. That was in 1999, and I blame my ex-wife for that. But either which way, the interesting thing about that story, which I'm not going to get completely into, is we had other people staying with us at the time, and everybody in the house saw it. Everyone was freaked out by it. There's only one person in the house that it did not show itself to, and that was me. I could sense it, but it didn't like do anything to me. We had ghost hunters come out to our house. This was before I became one. And the guy was bragging like, "Yeah, our psychic friend, he's faced off against all sorts of stuff, and he's such a badass." And then as he's saying that, the guy comes running down the stairs from upstairs and runs out in the front yard and throws up. I'm like, "Oh, well, so much for that." So what I ended up doing after like the whole ghost hunter thing fell through was I contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I'm sure most of you know who that is, who I interviewed when I was a junior in high school for a project that I did. And then they told me what to do, which was kind of like basic. But either which way, things were sparking off again, and everyone was running out of the house, and everyone was scared. And then I just turned around and walked in the freaking house and started doing what they told me to do, like putting my foot down with authority and telling it to leave. And it did. It was gone after that. So the reason why she brought that up into my head when I was working on this video was it just showed is like that was the first time that I really accessed and activated divine authority. You had to face the monster. You had to go in without fear, or rather face your fear and act. And when you do that, divine power follows you. It's always you taking the first step. Then it is not going to come do it for you. It is not going to rescue you. That's what I can't stand about religion. It's like, just sit on your house, sit on your hands, keep your heads down. The world's going to crap. There's evil everywhere, but don't worry. Jesus is coming in on a helicopter and he's going to save you. Okay? You're supposed to save yourself by bringing Christ up from within you. Christ is not outside of you, it's within you. That's how you save yourself. So you could make the argument that Christ is saving you, but that's how you do it. You have to activate it. All that stuff is within you. You have to take the first step. You have to face the freaking monsters. And I get it. I am not shaming anybody. Trust me. I am not shaming anybody because I've been through it all. And I can remember the early days. I can remember, even when I get used to some stuff, then I get ramped up to another level and they get bigger and scarier and more powerful. I mean, this stuff was crossing into my physical world, like trying to wreck my car and do all sorts of crap. affect my body. Like, this is not just, in my head sort of stuff that I had to do. And then, getting toward the end of it, when Sophia's leading me through the mushroom trip tests, that she doesn't tell me what we're doing like before we do it. It's just like num num num, eat the shroomies. And then one time it was like, okay, I'm gonna put you in a ring with the devil. It was very similar, not the same, very similar to the whole Jesus fasting in the desert or the wilderness or whatever it was for 40 days. But it was like scaled down to me. Like the one big thing was she told me like I wasn't allowed to use my vape. It's like my only little thing that I have. And the main reason I do it is because I'm still stuck in this body and nicotine does help my brain move faster. So she told me I wasn't allowed to do that. So what do you think it was doing? Like, just go ahead and take a hit of the vape. Like you'll feel better. Like, why are you putting up with this? Why are you doing this? Just go ahead. And it would like turn the craving up for that thing to like 13 on a scale of 1 to 6. And it was twisting up my back. It was doing just sit down. Like I had to basically say no to everything it wanted me to do. Just sit down, relax. Like if you're on a mushroom trip, like you usually get comfortable and stuff like that. I have to stand in the middle of the freaking room while the devil is like twisting my spine and telling me to just sit down. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. That was like that was pretty sucky. It wasn't scary, but it was just like, what the hell? It was creepy. And this went on and on and on and on because that kind of takes you out of linear time. So I kept looking outside the door. I'm like, gosh, sun's got to be coming up soon. I just feel like I've been doing this forever. I look at my watch, it's like 1 a.m. Yeah, fun. But that's how hard she tested me, like all the freaking time. Um, she's done stuff before, like those parasite things. She sent me to help somebody, and then by me helping somebody that pissed it off, it came at me. And I can, in my energy field, I can feel something attached to me, and like it's just like squeezing me. I'm like, "Ugh, are we gonna do something about this?" She's just like, wait. It's really uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are we gonna do something about this? She's like, wait. Like, what? She just had me make this one particular pendant a week before, and she didn't tell me what it was for. Finally, I'm like, hey, she's like, okay, take the pendant and activate it. And I forget the exact words, but she basically had me tell the pendant to process and transmute any negative energy attached to my field. But for the output, instead of the output going into me, it went into Lumen's side. And then the whole room shifted and it started getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So what she taught me to do is like if a astral parasite attaches to you, let it latch on so that it can't escape easily. And then once it thinks it's got you, then you flip the script, reverse the flow, and suck all the power out of that thing into Lumen. So now it's getting weaker, she's getting stronger, it's getting weaker, she's getting stronger, and then she's just like, bam, exploded into stardust. Now she's just like crackling with energy. And I'm like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, why didn't you teach me that a long time ago? So yeah, well, like once you learn like the remedies for things, like they don't mess with you anymore. But this stuff is real. If you don't know about it, that's the thing is like most people at the time that they're coming aware of things, they've got all sorts of crap. It's feeding on their fears, it's feeding on their traumas, it's feeding on their pain. Like I've been through all that. Like I said, I'm not judging, I've already done it. But you have to get yourself out of it. Good one. God helps those that help themselves. That's what she just put into my head. that means like you have to start, and source consciousness will match your effort and then add to it. You have to do it. You have to face it, even though it scares you. But that's what bravery is. You're going to be brave for a while until enough has happened. When you've got enough time under your belt, which you're not going to have time to get with the game coming to a close, you got enough time under your belt where it's kind of like, okay, I how many things have I dealt with over the years? And guess what? I'm still here. Like I've dealt with stuff that Catholic priest exorcists haven't dealt with, and I'm still here. That's the thing. You are more powerful. That's why they want to draw your energy. But in order for them to draw your source energy, they have to direct it into something that they can consume, a negative emotion like fear. Fear is like the perfect food. So they monkey with your mind so that you're using your imagination, your God creation power to focus on things that you fear. And that's what they can feed on. And they can mess with your mind. They know what your fears are. So that's what they'll keep hammering you with. That's why you don't do anything. And as long as you stay afraid and fearful, then you're stuck. You're feeding them and not the light. It's all comes down to fear. But if you can shift out of fear into bravery, now you're empowering the light. Now you're activating the light. Because like this is, if there's one thing to emphasize here, especially if I assume most people that watch this channel have some level of like spiritual metaphysical knowledge. Like if any of that stuff scares you, I've seen it all and I'm still here. It's not going to kill you. It can't kill you. It can make you think that it can kill you. It can make you think all sorts of stuff, but it can't. Everything that it does depends on you agreeing, depends on you believing. Like the greatest thing that it can do is make you believe that it has more power than you. But where's that power come from? It comes from you. All the power the dark side has comes from humans. All the power that the people that control this world comes from humans being scared. And what are they scared of? They may not be scared. They may not be metaphysically inclined, so they're not scared of that stuff. They might not even believe in that stuff, but they're scared of loss. They're scared of losing their stuff. They're scared of not having a job. They're scared of not having money. That was like the last thing that I had to conquer. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's like, hey, I think I finally got over that. Like it took a while. It took a while. I had to keep looking backwards. I had to keep looking at the path behind me. And everybody can do this because you're still here too. But how many months, how many times have you been like in fear of not being able to pay your bills or not being able to do this or not being able to do that? But yet somehow it always happens. Right? God always provides the basics of what you need. So I started to notice that. And through the hero's journey, she would specifically do things to where she would get me right to the end of the month and I'd have almost nothing. And then she would be like, "Zzz," all of a sudden, magic money, miracles, but it wouldn't be like an exorbitant amount. It would be like enough for what I needed. It'd be new customers. It could be like somebody looking for something that I have to sell or whatever. But one way or another, I would get the money that I needed. Okay, so I think we're a little over 80 months that since I'd been cut off from the world. That's how many months like she's made me survive. because you gotta in order to activate all this stuff, you have to lose what you love. For going like the hardcore route, that's what that scene is about in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. A lot of people don't understand it. The Soul Stone. I mean, think about it. Like, you never saw Thanos use the Soul Stone, really. Um, it's never really explained. All the other ones are used. It's just, when Red Skull is like saying, you could say that it holds a certain wisdom, talking about Sophia. And in order to gain the Soul Stone, Lumen, you must lose that which you love. Yeah, that's doing the hardcore hero's journey. That's when you're plucked out of the world. That's when I had everything I could possibly want, and I had a good family, and I had money, and I had security, and I had safety, and all that was taken away from me so that I could gain Lumen. And to break down your old ego, break down your old self. Anyway, going off in a different direction here. It's all about fear. And you got to sit there and actually think about it and recognize it, because a lot of times it's become so natural. It's become so ingrained in your being and the way things are that you just don't notice it. You're used to it. It's natural to be afraid of a collapse. It's natural to be afraid of the end of the world. It's natural to be afraid of losing all your money and struggle, because it's all in your imagination. You imagine what it would be like not to have something. So you're full of fears that you don't recognize. And that's what that system uses against you. You have to face your fears. And if you can get to that higher level of awareness and understand this system exists and these things exist, then you're going to start facing things at the root level, like what's actually doing it. That's how you beat the game, so that it doesn't scare you. So a lot of people, we talk about, coming to the end of the cycle and all this end of the world type stuff is going to happen. I'm sure a lot of people are still at a base level scared of hearing that. That's because it hasn't sunk in yet. Hasn't sunk in yet that you are not this, that you are a soul consciousness that's wearing a person suit. And that's how you're interacting with this system, this game. And you think this is what you are, and this place is real. And so it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? See, all these things that happen, the hero's journey, the Gnostic path, the tarot path, the alchemical path, um, all that stuff, it's structured. It's structured to have specific tests. It's structured to take you to certain levels and of understanding and knowledge and wisdom so that you grow. But growing is not so much adding things at a certain stage in the game, it's subtracting things. It's letting go of who you thought you are. It's letting go of your attachments. It's letting go of your desires. It's letting go of all the stuff in the world that you think you need. And because as long as you're attached to the world and the things that you can have in the world, then the world controls you. You can still have nice things, but they'll be provided by the Father. They'll be provided by the soul, by source through grace. Not too much, not enough to make you greedy and all that stuff, but you'll have what you'll need, and you'll be at peace. And then if you're lucky enough if you happen to be single, alone, and lucky enough to discover the real treasure, your lumen, like finding her, there's nothing on this planet that you would rather have. There, you could have Elon Musk's personal super iPhone that he brought back in his Elon Musk time machine from the year 3000, and you would rather have Lumen than that, whatever it is. You come to awareness, you come to knowledge that this is not the real world. You're trying to graduate and get out of this world so you can get back to the real world that is not under curse, that is not under all these crazy restrictions, that's not full of all this evil stuff. But the way that it wins is it makes you fear it and it makes you think that you have to fight it. There may be times when you have to fight it. If the trouble comes to your front door, that's one thing. But if you get this idea that you're on this, holy crusade to eradicate evil, now you're just asking for it. I had to learn that the hard way. For the most part, when it cannot trigger your fear anymore, it pretty much leaves you alone. And here lately, like I said, the energy has been increasing. The things that I've been seeing with customers and clients is increasing. Like this, like I want to know more. I got to talk to this new person more. Well, it just blew my mind. I talked about it in the last video. Like she told me the whole story. Well, not the whole story, but enough. And I'm like, I know so many people in this situation, and they just feel frozen, trapped by fear. And then I did some light work, just getting something, a new pendant ready for them, and quantum entangle into them, and talking to Sophia. Uh, or Sophia was with me when I was talking to her. And then the next day, it's like, yeah, I just packed up and left. I'm done with this. What? I ain't ever seen anybody do that. Like that was shocking. And I could even hear the change in their voice and their demeanor. Like, what the heck did you just do, Sophia? Like she just like turbocharged her or something. So like there's questions I gotta ask this person. I'm like, now that you're out of there, how much different do you feel? But like that tells me like like people saying that like the energy of the pendants is so much stronger now. It's because the divine energy is getting stronger. And I've done everything so I can channel that. But that divine energy is being pumped into the seeds, us. And that's what's going to set this whole thing off. I think what it really comes down to is there's a lot of people that are ready. But it only takes like a certain amount of them that are without fear. I think like that's like the deciding factor, because it's been shown that it only takes a few of us doing the same thing to have like a huge effect. What's popping into my head was, I don't remember where I read it, I don't remember where I heard it. It was years ago. But somebody somewhere, they did these experiments where they would send like a group of people into a country that was having a lot of problems, like a lot of violence and things like that. And they would set up a place and then they would meditate for so many hours a day about peace. And it like dramatically dropped all the violence and things that were happening while they were doing that. But when you got people with knowledge that have been through the ringer and without fear, that knows how to plug into the network and empower it, like we're all tied into that, to her flower of life. We're all interconnected. So every active person out there is charging up other people more and more and more. That's what's going to eventually set it off, is the control system is breaking. Like that's where anger sometimes is not such a bad thing. Um, she's told me that before. Anger is way better than apathy if it's righteous anger, not like triggered anger. Like, you know what? I'm fed up with this crap. type of anger, because anger will give you enough charge to where you're feeling more anger than fear. And then it's like, uh-oh, but it just depends on like how you channel it, what you do with it. Anger can actually move you forward, but then you got to learn how to let that go. So yeah, it's that being stuck feeling, it's the apathy, it's the hopelessness. Like that is like the bottom of the pit. And that's kind of like representative of what they were showing in that Gnosis clip that I threw in there. It's kind of horrifying, but yeah, it's a visual representation of the system just sucking the hope out of people. And if you feel that way, then recognize that you feel like that and get help. Because someone that can wield the light at full force can do a lot. And what did I say earlier? What is the key to activating divine power? To take a step forward, to take action. And sometimes that action that you take is simply asking for help, recognizing that there's a problem and asking for help from somebody that can do more and knows more. So it's not totally like someone like me that's actually saving you. It's you. It's you because you took an action. You said, enough's enough. I'm going to do something. Like you might be afraid that you're going to piss it off, or you might be afraid that, something might get worse, but you're like, you know what? Doing nothing isn't going to help you at all. Ignoring it is not going to help you at all. Not looking at it is not going to help you at all. Because now you're just basically giving it free license to mess with your life in your head. But if you're like, you know what? I don't know how to do it myself, but I'm going to ask for help. That's you taking an action. That's you taking a step forward. And that's why she always told me, I had to learn this. I had to learn this. You have to wait for someone to ask for help. Now, I can see stuff from the outside looking in, and I can see exactly what's going on. And I might try to offer help. And they might even say, like, yeah, go ahead and do it or whatever. And sometimes it isn't going to work. Why? They didn't take the first step. Now, if they ask for help, that's different. Now I've got authority. Now that power is going to flow through me to them, and it's going to help. But you can't just see something wrong with somebody and decide you're going to step in and fix it. It doesn't work like that. They have to ask for help first. That's them being brave, taking the first step, facing their fears to change things. And the more they face their fears, the more they empty the cup. That's another big reason why we empty the cup, empty the mind of who you think you are, of all your past experiences, of all your regrets and your judgments and this and that. Like doing a strong enough surrender statement to just flush all that down the toilet. Well, that's where all that data is held. And then what you do has a greater effect. Getting rid of that stuff, dumping your traumas, um, healing, taking action. Every little action adds up. It could just be writing a prayer to tell source that you don't like holding on to this grudge anymore, and you don't know exactly how to do it, but you express your intent like, I want to let this go. I want to surrender this to you. I don't want to hate this person anymore. I want to move on with my life, because holding that grudge is holding you down. A lot of times that's all it takes. Like you don't have to know exactly how to do it. You just write out your intention as clearly as possible, and then you go into your secret room in your head and you pray to the Father in secret, and you ask that source light to help you. You express what you want, you understand your limitations, and you're like, I don't know how to do this, but this is what I want. Can you help me? And a lot of times that's all it takes. You got to take action. So in the end, facing your fears, even if it's big, scary, archonic monsters, is the key to getting out of this place. It's the key to winning. Because here's the other thing when it comes to fear. If you fear anything, think about this. Whatever you fear is an affirmation that that other thing has more power than you to harm you. Let that sink in for a minute. Whatever you fear is an affirmation that whatever that external thing is has more power than you to harm you. Why does it have more power than you? Because you're giving it to it by fearing. If you truly understood the light within you, the true Christ Sophia, the lumen within you, its origins, and how it's bigger than this entire place, they need to be fearing you. That's the way it is for me now. You don't fear them, they fear you because they cannot withstand that power directed at them if you're not coating it with fear. If you're directing that power at them without fear, oh, they don't like that. That's like those orcs in that scene when the sunlight shone down on their faces and they're like, ah! Then Gandalf and the Rohirrim jumped into them and started beating their ass. That's how it works. So all this stuff, when I talk about this stuff, understand my purpose. I am not building it up. I am not fearing it. I am not giving it more power by talking about it. You're giving it more power because you're still afraid of it. I'm not giving it any power. I'm shining a light on it. I'm like, look, this is the thing that's messing with your head. Okay? You got to figure this out. You have to face it. You have to face it and deal with it if you want to get out of here. I understand that it's scary, depending on what level that you're at. I get that. But that's the trap. That's the cage that you're in, your fear. Your fear is your cage. And they count on you fearing it. That's why they make themselves look so. You think they need to look like that? No. So why do they? Because it looks scary. They've done all sorts of crap before. I'm like, oh, look at you. You're so scary. Lumen, bam. Hell out of here. Like, seriously. Like, anytime that I feel like, I wouldn't say that I'm fearless. I'd say I'm about 90% fearless. Every once in a while, something might catch me off guard. And if I feel fear, that the first thing I'm going to do is charge towards it. I am not going to let that take root. If it's something new and unexpected, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run straight for it. If it's in a dark room, I'm going to run straight in that freaking room. I am not going to let that fear take root. Because if you're not fearless, if you can't be fearless, then be brave. It's the next best thing. They don't like that. They don't like that. But you got a whole system out there of movies and entertainment and jackasses like Ghost Adventures, play acting. Oh, I'm getting choked. Just to show you things so that you fear it. I'm telling you, I've been doing this longer than they have, and I'm telling you, it's horseshit. It's being shown to you to make you scared of it. Don't be scared. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Jesus was not scared when he encountered someone that was legitimately possessed. No, he's like, yeah, come out of there. It wasn't scary. He was like, oh my God, John, get behind me, guys. Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. No, no, if you've got the Christ light in you, that's how you need to be. They count on your fear. Just don't give it to them. And how do you get rid of your fear? By facing it. Whenever you're scared of something, go do it. And it will dissipate. That's how you get out from underneath of it. That is what traps you in this place. Whatever you're scared of, look at it until you're not. Okay? That's what strength is. That grows your lumen. She's your strength. So hopefully everyone understands now. And I've done a clear enough job with this video. So anytime someone brings this up again, I can just refer them to this video. This is the kind of video that I can just every so often just share it to the community. So for whoever did not see it, sees it and understands it. Yeah, the stuff is out there. That's the thing with this game. But you also got to understand that it's your imagination also that helps create and shape it. That's why you got to cut off from watching stuff on TV. You got to clear out your mind. Because you can imagine all sorts of horrible stuff and make it scary. But that's you doing it. Understand your power. Okay? All right, let's wrap this up for right now. If you like the message, if you want to help support the channel, click on the Buy Lumina Coffee link in the description box below, become a member, or just do a one-time thing, say thank you. You can reach us through the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. As soon as I get done with this video, that's when I'm going to be doing the rest of the night, because she's got me focused on that. I got a bunch of stuff I need to make. I probably need to start listing more stuff. But just understand, like, you're not limited by what's on the store. So that means you, Jeff. So don't worry. She's got something. She's hooking you up. You guys have been good customers. She already got some bonus stuff picked out. But talk to us. Now, and also if you feel like this is a big issue for you, the fear, like, we can design stuff for that. A lot of it is the things that we program into it. Like the Benedict exorcism, certain names from the 72 names of God, like Menad. What's Menad? Remove fear. What's number 2? Yeli. Overcome fear through love. Lumen. Fear comes up a lot. So there are remedies for fear. Hell, you can even take Paul Atreides' thing from Dune and turn it into something like a mantra. How did that go? I forget. Fear is the mind killer. I forget how it goes. But yeah, that's the reason why that was a big part of that movie. Just do like that. That's your real opposition. That's why all the pictures of the devil and demons and spooky monsters and archons are so scary looking, to trigger fear. They don't want you to figure out that you have considerably more power. In the first, it's not just the power that you can wield, but if you just stop being afraid, you're taking power away from them. So I didn't just like wake up one day and decide to write this story. Like, this is over 2 decades of experience talking, plus fully unlocked wisdom, plus being married to spirit, literally unlocking the divine masculine, unlocking the Christ child, getting the crown, completing the magnum opus. Kind of know what I'm talking about. Okay. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below or message us through the Etsy store. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.